Hey, hello, and welcome to BizTechDay. I'm Mishi Valeriano, and I'm speaking with Ginny Fang, Executive Director of ChinaSF. Welcome, Ginny.
Thank you so much.
Tell us a little bit more about ChinaSF. It began in 2008. What's its goal, and what does it do?
So ChinaSF is an economic development initiative at its heart. It was started here in the city of San Francisco under the leadership of the mayor's office. But it's actually a public-private initiative partnership between the mayor's office and the San Francisco Center for Economic Development. And the idea behind it was to basically leverage this long-standing history that San Francisco has with China, this very unique cultural relationship, but move it beyond the cultural relationship and really look at the business opportunities and economic opportunities that have grown very, very quickly in the last decade or so. And so we have a sister city relationship with Shanghai. We were the first U.S. city to actually establish a sister city relationship with a Chinese city. But when the Mayor Gavin Newsom went over, then Mayor Gavin Newsom went over, actually probably 4 or 5 years ago, the idea was like, well, how can we move this a step further beyond just protocol visits, beyond cultural exchange? And so that was why ChinaSF was set up. And so we established an office in Shanghai, have an office here. Last year, we opened up our second office in Beijing, and the goal really is to help bring Chinese investment, Chinese businesses to grow and expand here in San Francisco and the Bay Area, to bring jobs to the city, jobs to our region, and then to also help San Francisco Bay Area-based businesses go into the China market.
So you talked about the unique cultural relationship that China and the city of San Francisco has. Could you speak a little bit more about it? And is it possible to one day have a China New York or a China Wyoming?
Well, I think that with San Francisco, we have such a long relationship with China. So over 150 years of an exchange that has just happened naturally because of immigration patterns, because of people seeking, and then also because of geography, right? And so at this point in time, the city has over 25% of our population is Chinese. And so given the, that we're a great urban center that's thriving, it's a very, very natural gateway because of that cultural relationship. So you ask, could we have a China New York? Could we have a China Wyoming? Sure, of course we could. It would probably look different than what we have here. I mean, we're starting with such a strong background. There's already been many families that have traveled back and forth, establishing businesses here, traveling back to China to extend their businesses. So we have, I think, something that's more unique to offer just because of that relationship. One example I'll give you is one of the first companies that we brought over to San Francisco was Suntech, which is a major solar company. They set up their headquarters here, started with 4 people, within a year and a half expanded to 60 people. And then moved on to set up manufacturing in Arizona. So that's a job creation story, not just for the Bay Area, but also for the rest of the country.
So one of the things that your website mentions that you do is give advice to Chinese companies that would like to set up shop in the U.S. What's the biggest piece of advice that you usually give?
And one of the things that we see is just a lack of understanding of the business culture and environment of the U.S. It's so different in China, and it's the same the reverse direction. And so it's some of the basic nuts and bolts of, okay, how do I get a business license? In China, you need to register your office, and it's a long process. And a lot of times, Chinese companies think they have to do the same thing here. You don't need to. You just rent an office, and you get a business license for, I think it's $20 and at City Hall, and you're done. But I think more so than that, it's how to position themselves, how to localize their product. We can't necessarily advise them on that, but what we are able to do is get them starting to think about that.
Once a Chinese company has interfaced with you, how do you turn around and get them into relationships with local markets and local producers and the people that they would have to work with in order to make the company successful?
Absolutely. So what we do, we have an extensive network first, based on our board members, we have a great advisory board that has both Chinese executives as well as U.S. executives that is very familiar with the trade back and forth. We focus on biotech, clean tech, digital media, and finance because that's what's strong in San Francisco and the Bay Area. And so when the, say, CEO comes over for their first trip to scope things out, we can say, okay, well, you're a solar company. Let's set you up with PG&E, our local public utilities commission, get you set up to do a meet and greet at City Hall so that you have the official welcome from the city. And then let's look at the legal landscape, the legal challenges of clean tech. Where would you be in the city? What are some better neighborhoods, communities for you? Where are most of the solar companies in the city? So I think it's all of those initial introductions, and I think being partnered with the mayor's office, it gives us a lot of level of credibility, of safety to the Chinese companies. We're a nonprofit, we're not charging them. Right. And besides wanting them to grow jobs in the city, there's no other motivation. Yeah.
Right. Well, being part of the mayor's office, though, kind of exposes you to the politics and the different personalities that govern San Francisco. How do you deal with that? And for example, Mayor Newsom left and is no longer the mayor. How was the changeover, and how did it affect you?
What we were very smart with at the beginning was making it a public-private initiative. So that gives us the benefit of being connected to the mayor's office, but we're actually a nonprofit 501c3. And so in terms of what you asked about the mayoral transition, I think that there were questions that kind of brought up, well, so what will happen when he moves on? Well, what's great is that he is actually now lieutenant governor. And so we have the lieutenant governor as a supporter of ChinaSF, and Mayor Lee has been incredible in terms of his support of ChinaSF. And I think having the first Chinese American mayor of San Francisco has also been a tremendous benefit to us.
Right. So it's all a plus.
All a plus.
Essentially. Okay. Now, since 2008, has ChinaSF grown in unexpected directions?
On the China side, we've been engaging far more with the central government. So the National Development Forum Commission, working with actually our U.S. federal offices in China. There are very few cities that are as active as we are, and so, say, working with the Department of Energy and their offices in China, they've been able to introduce us to a lot of relationships around clean tech, around clean energy, around sustainable development, and being able to partner us with different cities that we wouldn't be able to access ourselves. And then I think in terms of the scope of our activities, there isn't anything that doesn't touch China. I mean, every industry is interested in China. We are pulled into just about every conversation. Another example is America's Cup. That's a huge, huge piece for San Francisco. We have tremendous goals around having it be a net neutral carbon event. And so we've been brought in to help engage Chinese partners, perhaps being, say, the main solar provider. For an event like that. So it's great visibility for them, and really is amazing for ChinaSF in that we're pulled into these conversations. The first trans-Pacific biofuels flight, that's another conversation we've been pulled into. So I think in terms of what's been unexpected is, people often associate a government initiative or government-related initiative being, it's nice, but it's not necessarily as entrepreneurial as it could be. But we've been able to do quite a bit, and it's been exciting.
It sounds like it's incredibly dynamic.
Absolutely.
So what's next for ChinaSF? What are you guys, is there anything cooking in the back burner, or anything you want to invite people to check out?
Yeah, so I think in terms of what's next for ChinaSF, there's going to be bigger and better things. We've got a few big announcements coming up in terms of companies coming over and establishing here, and that we are very, very excited about. And we actually just recently had one, another major solar company, ChinaSF, was announced here by the mayor. And so this year will be our 3rd year anniversary. So we're going to celebrate our 3rd year anniversary for our first annual event. And we're actually going to be tying that to the Dragon Boat Festival as a cultural component, hopefully having the mayor join our dragon boat.
You're going to be rowing on the dragon boat
team? We are going to have a ChinaSF dragon boat. Okay. And so that will be fantastic, coming up in September.
All right. Well, that's going to be definitely one to look out for. Thank you so much for joining us, Jenny.
Thank you, Mishi.